What's up, y'all? It's your boy KRS. I want to talk about the changes that are coming on September 17th for Fury Warriors. And the changes for arms on the Blade Storm nerf and the Odin's Fury nerf by another 15%, which is going to kind of make Odin's Fury. It'll still do a lot of damage, but it's not going to be what it was. And they are buffing Mountain Thane by 6%, which honestly just makes Mountain Thane that much more better and much more consistent versus the Slayer build. Um, Now, you can still run Odin Fury. The effect of Odin's Fury on your Slaughterhouse is still really, really good. The damage is still going to be there, but the 10% nerf to Blade Storm, the 15% nerf to Odin's Fury, plus then the PvP nerf, so that's a total of 30% on one ability, which is quite a bit. So I've got some patch notes here for the 17th. So if we look at, uh, the changes for Warrior, Colossus Mountain of Muscle and Scars has been increased by 5%. And for arms, the Demolish 2 initial strikes is being increased by 20%. So maybe arms can finally have some play. The problem with arms is when you're playing arms and you're kind of the train target, you do not live through anything right now. Arms is so squishy. Um, Having the extra stamina with the extra two-hander really helps Fury to live, and just the overall healing with your Enrage Regen Blade Storm, which heals you for it stops a go, which is still really strong no matter how you put it. But this is the change right here. Arms is getting nerfed. I don't know why they keep nerfing arms and Fury at the same time. It doesn't really feel that good. And this is another one of the changes that I wanted to talk about. So this is just the overall Mountain Thane, Thunder Blast, Lightning Strikes, and Ground Current damage increased by 6%. That's huge. That's actually really huge. Because we were already basically doing what was Slayer Strikes or whatever, where this is kind of matching it in our game, and it also slows with our thing, so we don't ever have to really waste a global on Hamstring. We will sometimes, but it's not as frequent, so we have more uptime just to do raw damage and actually not spend as much rage in Hamstring, which is nice. We're just able to go balls to the wall, and there's a little more rage generation with Mountain Thane anyway, so you can go full powerful enrage. You can run either the empowered Bloodthirst and Raging Blow, which actually do hit fairly hard, and everything with Mountain Thane buffs all of your abilities by 15%, and now this is another 20% to just your rampage. So it was 15, it's 15 right now, which is actually huge, from 15 to 20. And that actually increases your Bloodthirst damage. I've actually had Bloodthirst hit for almost 1,000,000 with Mountain Thane currently. I think this will just push it right above, which is really, really good. And another comp that's actually looking really good with, what is it? With Fury is going to be Storm with the Enhancement Shaman. They're buffing Enhance a lot. So Enhance went from being, C, D tier to A to now S tier, which is actually kind of insane. So that's kind of one thing with the Fury Warrior. You can still run, so like if you ran, so this is kind of what I'm running, I'm kind of playing with it. I'm kind of more or less wanting to go full single target and go Meat Cleaver and Improved, and maybe drop Ashen Juggernaut and go straight into Blood Craze. Blood Craze I think is also just a necessary thing. But with Mountain Thane, you already have so much generation of your abilities that you don't really feel like you need so much. You don't need that crazy amount of damage from Blade Storm, from Slayer, and Execute. Your Executes do still hit very hard. They're just not as frequent as they are with Odin, or not Odin, with Slayer, let's say, in Slaying Strikes or whatever. So this is kind of what you would run with the Slayer build. So basically what you would do is spend all your rage, so it would go something like this. You pop your whole burst. You want to make sure you're in rage before that, but basically this is basically your entire rotation Make sure you use Odin's Fury with the Dragon or Thunderous Words still up. I don't still want to call it Dragon Roar, but basically that's your whole damage. That's how it's all gonna go, and then I burst again in 25 seconds. After that, because then we're gonna have basically another Blade Storm and everything to kind of just go together. So Fury's damage with this build is still gonna be exceptionally high. They're just nerfing Odin's Fury so much, and that 10% to Blade Storm is huge, but we're still going to have a lot of damage with this. But I think with the Rampage, just think of it like this. Instead of being proc based around your execute, you're going to have more damage with your Rampage. So like my Rampages are hitting, 400, 500, 600k with Slayer. So like if you burst, you're going to use everything, and then you're going to Blade Storm on that avatar, and you're still gonna do a ton of damage, right? So that's basically how the Slayer is working with the talents in Thunder. Okay, so I gotta wait till the Odin's Fury's up. But basically, with most comps right now, Fury Warrior and Arms are still very, very squishy compared to a lot of other specs that are like magic resistant. They actually have things to stop just overall things that'll just take you out of the game, like DK's AMS, enhancement, grounding totem. There's a lot of things where Warrior is a lot weaker compared to other classes, but there is an advantage to Fury with running the powerful Enrage. So we're running everything that modifiers our Wrath and Fear, basically anything that increases Raging Blow damage, Raging Blow, Slaughtering Strikes that buffs our Rampage, buffs our Bloodthirst. This talent tree is always going to give us away, because the thing with Slayer is if Bloodthirst crits, the next one does 20% more damage, and if a Raging Blow procs, essentially it resets its own cooldown, it does 30% more damage. But the thing is that doesn't always happen. So Shield Slam damage increased by 10, Bloodthirst and Rampage damage increased by 15. This is going to be 20. This is Strength of Mountains. This is what's getting buffed for Fury, I believe, for Fury. Let's just see. Actually, I'll just pull it up again. So, yeah. So, for Fury, yeah, this is just getting buffed by 25%. Or I guess it's a 30% buff, right? 33% buff. So, this is stronger. This talent is just straight up stronger. And now you're Crashing Thunder, it ignores damage, it just ignores armor anyway, so it makes it actually really, really kind of funky. Lightning Strikes have a 15% chance to make your next 2 Bloodthirsts have no cooldown, deal 35% increased damage, and generate 2 additional rage. Well, I believe, where is it on here? Yep, right here. So it just buffs all your things. So Thorum Smite, Raging Blow, and Execute damage increased by 15%. Bloodthirst and Rampage damage increased by 15%. So now your Bloodthirst is increased if this procs by 50%. Then you have stuff like Reckless Abandon and Powerful Enrage. So the tooltip for Bloodthirst is 174k with Mountain Thane. In PvP, it's 247k. Now, I have to get this proc. It's not always the easiest proc to get, but you tend to proc it a lot. So I didn't get it there, but you tend to basically get this proc a lot. So like here, 624k Bloodthirst, we got a proc right there. 400k Bloodthirst, 434k, 339k. This just makes your overall damage way higher versus the Mountain Thane. So I have that proc. I'm gonna pop all my cooldowns. I got the big proc, 780k, which is quite a bit, and that was a non-crit. But you can start to see where Mountain Thane is looking a lot better, and your Rampages are a lot higher overall, considering. So I got another proc. I'm gonna use it. Make sure I use that Crushing Blow. And just, like, this is literally the whole rotation. You are literally just, if you can slow them with Thunderclap, you're going to slow them with Thunderclap. It's a 40% slow. Yeah, it's not Hamstring where it's 50. But the thing is that it hits everybody, and it just fits into your rotation really well. I wish it was a 50% slow. That would be a lot more annoying, but honestly, it doesn't feel that much different. Yeah, it is, but it's not at the same time. But, like, okay, I got another proc from Bloodthirst, 360k. Bloodthirst is usually hitting for about 150k. So, the scaling for Bloodthirst is really weird, and Raging Blow and Bloodthirst, because, like, if you're not talented into Mountain Thane, they don't really do a ton of damage. Like, okay, I got a proc there, and a Mountain, and a Avatar proc, and a hit for 645k. So, you tend to do a lot of damage with this build, and even if you do drop, let's say, a Reckless Abandon, and you drop Unbridled Ferocity, you go this, you could even do something like this, where you're always going to have that, actually, Blood Craze is way better. You could even do something like this, you could do just something like this. I prefer this, because we already have Onslaught. But I think Tuesday, the changes might be, play with the talents a little bit, see what's good. The damage is still really there as Fury. Instead of being front loaded like it was with Bladestorm, we still have a lot of that burst with Bladestorm. Going into Mountain Thane, it's not as much because we don't have the chance to proc, Reap the Storm, which is hitting really hard. But either way, Odin's Fury is still viable. I don't want anyone to think like Odin's Fury is not viable. It's not just damage, it's also Immortal Strike, and it also gives you Avatar. But the thing is if you don't want to think about doing that through your rotation, and you just want to do big damn the entire game, cleave and or signal and target, and take less damage, 10% if you're going into like Windwalker or another warrior with keep your feet on the ground. Thunder Blast reduces damage you take by 8% for 5 seconds. You get this all the time, and it does more damage. So it's just, Mountain Thane is looking incredible on Tuesday, and they're buffing it more. My rampage damage is already extremely high with Mountain Thane, just because of that 15% buff. Here's a game, buddy of mine, Crafty X. I believe he's a 2800 warrior. He was playing with a Mistweaver, but look up my rampage damage. My bloodbath is in my top damage. If you count gushing wound, which is the bleed, I wasn't cleaving at all. Lightning strikes. It's basically like your like your Slayer strikes, maybe a little bit higher, but then you throw your Mountain Blast in there and say you're critting. Well, now it's hitting just as hard, right? So, and it cleaves at the same time. So, my execute's up in there, or my execute damage is still relatively high. Considering actually my Bladestorm damage is actually pretty high, and I'm not running the shorter Bladestorm. I was running the talents. I was just running Reckless Abandon for that one, and I was still able to out DPS another Fury Warrior who got more executes than I did, just because of the flatline buffs that you get in this tree from like Thorum's Might and Strength of Mountain. So instead of being proc based and using Bladestorm and Execute as your damage, now your actual like rotational abilities are something that is not going to be, that's not proc based or anything, are just going to be in your normal thing, are always going to have more impact than whatever else. It's like sudden death should be a enhancement to you, not a hindrance, because it makes all the rest of your abilities dog shit. And Mountain Thane just kind of buffs all your abilities and makes them crazy. But coming Tuesday, September 17th, this is going to be kind of what I'm running. You take less damage, you're a lot tankier sitting in D-stands, getting the Thunder Blasts off, you take 8% less damage. If it's into another physical class, now you're taking 20% less damage with all of your healing. If you're running Battle Trance, or, you're not, Disarm, Bloodthirst healing, and Final Wind, I believe is what it's called, Second Wind. So Fury Warrior is actually looking really, really strong going into next week. Anybody that's really worried about Fury that doesn't have this deeper knowledge, don't really worry about it. We just change up a few talents, and if anything, we're more tanky now because Slayer's getting nerfed, Bladestorm's getting nerfed, Odin's Fury's getting nerfed, and I feel like with Mountain Thane, you're not really gonna run so much, big damn all the time. You're just going to run things that are going to consistently give you damage, like Recklessness on Avatar. Or you're just going to run, I'm going to do a huge amount of damage, and I'm going to run things like Endless Rage, because I'm going to be getting CC'd a lot, and, in your PvP talents, like Enduring Rage, so it just makes it all the rest of your damage just fucking crazy. So just something to think about, where your abilities are taking 8 to 15% of someone's health bar every time you press it. Feels a lot more impactful than 120k Bloodthirst. Now it's like 400k, which is a huge step in the right direction, instead of, oh hey, we're basically heading like a wet noodle until we get an execute proc. We have Recklessness and Thunderous Words, Odin's Fury, and Bladestorm back. But anyway, you guys have a good one. I just wanted to kind of talk about what's going on in the new patch for Warriors, and kind of what's going forward, what's looking good. I haven't really been seriously pushing much. I'm only 1926. I lost a game before this, but that's okay. I was playing with Dispriest in I believe it was kind of just pain in the ass comp, Athlock, and the guy wouldn't press up. I was like, yo, just press up, press up, press up. He wouldn't do it. But anyway, y'all have a good one, and Warriors looking really strong, and don't give up. Keep moving, brothers.